our How to Build a $10 million Business program. This is going to be taking place every month directly after our layer sales meeting for the next 6 months. It'll take us right into the spring market. And basically, we're going to be highlighting high-performing real estate agents at each event. And the agents that we highlight are typically $10 million producers and higher. What's super interesting about the real estate business is that there are so many ways to be highly successful in real estate. And each of the interviewees that we've selected for the next 6 months, they're all just very different in their approaches, how they go about business. We have some agents that just concentrate on luxury real estate. We have others that are in lower end priced markets. We have agents that focus just on buyers and other high performing agents that just focus on sellers. We have teams, we have individual agents, we have agents that buy leads, we have agents that won't buy leads. We have agents that have been in the business for a short amount of time, agents that have been in the business for a long period of time. And so through this series, our goal is to get to the bottom of success, find out what other superstars in our business are doing to remain highly successful. So today we have with us 2 high-performing real estate agents in 2 different market areas. Both of them are located in Massachusetts in 2 totally different areas. And I'm going to introduce one at a time. And as I introduce them, I'll have them give you a little background on how long they've been in the business and what their business looks like. So first, we'll start with Diana Paquette. So Diana, welcome to our program. Tell us a little bit about how long you've been in business, why you got into the business, and what your business looks like.
Wow. So I started back in 2003, so almost 20 years. To be honest with you, I did it because I used to work in the legal field in contracts. I was always working for companies that were U.S. defense contractors. And and I thought that contracts, real estate contracts kind of coincided, and, you know, terms and conditions from one contract kind of all relate. And I took the jump, and I did, and it was pretty interesting. But 20 years ago, I didn't take it as seriously as I did in the last couple of years. So I always had something else in my life that was a little bit more important. I hate to say, like my family, or I had a little one or whatever. And then I moved up north because I actually live in central New Hampshire now. So fast forward 20 years, the last 2 years ago, I decided to just really make this my number one focus. And I was lucky enough to really succeed. And also because of the fact that I partnered up with a great partner. So that was another great asset, or helped anyway, to improve my business.
Okay, awesome stuff. I also want to introduce, we have with us today Johnny Fallon. Johnny is a retired police officer who hasn't been in the business that long, but has already hit the $10 million a year in business mark. Welcome, Johnny. Tell us about how you ended up in real estate and what business looks like for you.
Yeah, I started real estate was a plan for me. It was a retirement plan of sorts. I retired after 32 years of service here in town, and about 10 years prior to retiring, I started real estate with a very small company, but a very knowledgeable broker. But I found myself inventing tools that I didn't really know already existed until I came on board with Lair. And for me, it was like Christmas in July. I was like, wow, look at all these tools. And that took my business to a whole different level. Quite frankly, I still have a lot of the tools I have to learn how to use and use in a better fashion, but I know that they're there, so that's very rewarding. I enjoyed my career in policing, but that has caused me to really think differently. In my former career, you don't really go out and promote yourself. The work is going to come, whether you're out there promoting yourself or not. And then in real estate, I've really come to realize that if you're not out there promoting yourself, and it's a unique thing for me, right? At 33 years in a community, raising my children, coaching sports, I was widely recognized as the cop. It was Johnny the cop in town. And now I need people to look at me and think that I'm no longer a cop, I'm a realtor. So the challenge for me is changing people's thoughts about who I am and what I do. And the more I do that and the more successful I am with that, I do realize that the calls come my way. So I have loved it and look forward to exceeding goals every year.
Awesome. Diana, you mentioned that you teamed up with somebody in about a year and a half or 2 years ago. I'm curious, basically the way you guys have teamed up is you just split everything. And I can see that that can go really well and that can really go really wrong as well. How do you set an agreement at the start that you know will have longevity?
So I think we were very fortunate enough that we knew each other. We've known each other for a long time, probably since we both got licensed back in early 2000s. We know each other's work ethic. We know each other's stride and how, you know, we're both, and we're both accountable. Like, you know, we talk pretty much every day, if not every other day. He keeps me on my toes. Definitely, you know, in terms of, he's definitely the more regimented one. He's definitely the more technical one. But in terms of, I think we just knew from the get-go, this is what we're both putting our both best foot forward. We're both, you know, committed to it. And the minute we start to think that one is not, I mean, if one of us isn't as busy as the other one, which we've been very lucky that we have been, we're both offering, right? So if I'm not busy, I'm there for you, whatever you need me to do, and vice versa. So I think it's definitely a team. We're such a team. If it ever was that we needed to revisit the terms of our arrangement, I think it's easy enough. We're so in tune with each other. I think it's so funny because his name is Brian and my husband's name is Brian. And it's like, I feel like it's my work husband and my real husband. And I feel a lot of times I have such a great relationship with both Brians, but obviously my work Brian,
Mhm.
you know, we understand each other very well. And I don't think we have no qualms, you know. Again, if he has a question about what happened to that deal, why didn't that happen? You know, again, he asks the right questions. And again, you not that you're, I don't want to say we're supervising each other, but we're definitely a team. And again, what we're doing has to be accountable. So it's communication all the time, and it's understanding, you know, if I'm not as busy, I'm there for you. And if we ever had to revisit it, we would definitely revisit the agreement.
And then as far as you guys doing business, like, let's just say a lead comes in, do you have a system as to who gets what leads? And does only one show up at a listing appointment, or is it both?
We have only done 2 listing appointments together. It just seems that we've been, again, I'm afraid to even talk about it. We've been so busy that we just haven't had the time to both take the time to go to each other's listing appointments. And to be honest, I think we're just as good solo as we are together. Well, I'm sorry. You had asked me something first off, and I just.
And what about the leads coming through?
So the leads coming through, thank you. So we have this service called Lopo. It's YLOPO. And basically the leads come in and it's called round robin. They just automatically, so one will come to me, one will go to Brian. We never get them equally. So each time we're assigned a lead, you know, we go with it. But I'm going to be totally honest with you. I haven't had much success with the leads. A lot of them are very, you know, they're just not there yet. Or, you know, sometimes I get a lead that it's like in Alabama. It's a lot of it's just, they're not vetted very well. But all of these leads are still coming into our CRM. They're automatically in go into our CRM so that they're receiving all our digital marketing. And that's, that's the nice thing, is that Brian has been very good about putting everything out on Facebook and so all of social media venues. So we're very fortunate with that. So even these people that we've never met, spoken to, they're still seeing us. So they know that we're out there and we're really busy. But other than that, it's been really our CRM that's kept us busy this year, these last couple of years. We've been very fortunate that it's been a lot of referral and a lot of people in our sphere directly that has impacted our business mostly.
Okay. Johnny, you have not been in the business for very long. How many years have you been in?
Well, I would say I really came into the business the past 2 years when I joined Lair. Working a full-time job and trying to do real estate was a challenge, but I always knew that that was just a stepping stone, that eventually I would jump into it, with both feet. So over the past couple of years is when I've really immersed myself into turning myself into a realtor. And again, completely changing careers. But
And it's been super highly successful watching you. I mean, when I first met you, I want to say you were doing around, say, $2 million a year in sales. And now you're like $10 million in sales. What's 3 things that you did to get you to that level?
I jumped up my social media on Facebook, and I didn't create a business Facebook. I know a lot of people don't like to use their personal Facebook, but I do because I already had a lot of followers. So I stuck with that, and I use that to let everybody know that I'm doing real estate and that I'm the guy on the Cape. The Cape is a unique market. And then I signed on with a couple of lead generating things, and Veterans United was the big one. What I learned, and I still do a lot with Veterans United, is that they are labor intensive. There are a lot of people you get who, are looking for that $150,000 home on the water on Cape Cod, and they got not a lot to work with. So you nurture a lot of leads, and then you get the ones where they're very viable. They're looking to sell a home and then buy a home. So I've really worked to create that niche as well, where let's make it one smooth transaction. And in doing so, I've really worked hard to build a good team down here. There's no way over the past 2 years I would have hit $10 million in sales if I didn't have Zora Kim on my team. She's incredible, well worth everything. She just makes me work harder than I want to sometimes.
And by the way, because Diana and I were just having a conversation, and she's like, I'm thinking about hiring a team member, and Zora is a transaction coordinator. She's phenomenal. She's our in-house transaction coordinator. And you made a bold move in that you hired her. A lot of people wait till they're doing $10 million in business so that they know they have the income coming in to hire a transaction coordinator, but you didn't do that. That was like one of your first big moves, I think, in real estate, just getting the help.
I listened to one of your realtors. I want to say she's in New Hampshire, Tebow, maybe.
Yes.
And I was so impressed with what she had to say. And I've met her on the cruise, and that's what she talked about, having a transaction coordinator. So I immediately called Zora, introduced myself, said I'm a new agent with Lair, and let's sell millions of dollars worth of real estate. And I won't do one transaction without you. She said, okay. and then that's the way it's gone. And I use her for everything. I think she elevates my business. I'm not a team. I'm a one-man team, but that's changing here on the Cape. We've got a new office, and we're filling it up with great realtors. And I do suspect we'll be a team once we get everybody to where we want to be. But I would make Zora a part of that team because of she elevates my business. She makes me work harder than I want to sometimes. She keeps me on track, and that's really been a key to my success. My success at this point.
One thing I wanted to ask you is, you said that you nurture the leads. which obviously you do. To get to $10 million in business, you have to have some way that you're nurturing them. What does that mean, nurturing them? Do you have a list of people you call every day? Do you have a CRM? How are you making sure that people don't slip through the cracks?
Well, I drive, so I get in. I never set a small radius, which is alarming to agents on the Cape because they see my Facebook post, but I have about a 200-mile radius in which I don't mind working with them. So I go, I drive, I visit people, I call them regularly. And the one thing that's missing from my my toolkit here is the real strong use of a CRM, because signing up with Zora right away was key. Not getting on the CRM was a huge mistake, because now as I look back, I see all these customers who I don't have them in my CRM yet, and it becomes daunting to me. Like, I have to get all these people in there, and I just have to set aside the time to do that. But I haven't had the time to do that because I'm just racing around trying to close deals and get listings. And when you look back and say, I should have did that from day one. I should have entered the very first person I sold a piece of property to or sold for there, and then I'd already have this. That's something I have to go back now and do, because I understand the real value of it. I just haven't availed myself of it.
So Diana, you mentioned a CRM. Is Lopo a CRM, or are you using something separate for a CRM?
We're using Follow Up Boss, but it's in sync with Lopo. So actually, it was a 2-in-1 package. They're not the same company, but they both definitely promote each other because they work very well in sync. So anytime I get an Op City lead, any lead, a LoopNet lead or a Lopo lead, they automatically all go into my Follow Up Boss. And my Follow Up Boss took all of my CRM. They actually took my my Google connections, my contacts, and then I'm trying to think what I had before Follow Up Boss. I can't even remember. It couldn't have been too impressive. But anyway, so the Follow Up Boss is the CRM that we use. And just to follow up on what John just said, John, you've got plenty of time. You've only been in this business for a couple of years. Real, if you think about it, even if you had 50 transactions to go back and look up, that's not bad. My CRM didn't get caught up until probably, I'd say, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. So I did that for a long time. So you've got plenty of time to make up for it.
Next question, we'll go back to Johnny. You get called on a listing appointment. What software are you using for a listing presentation? What does a listing presentation look like for you?
So I use Cloud CMA, and then I use the tools that we have at the office to create colorful CMAs. And what I like to do is break them up into two. I use the so that they're actually two binders. The first is what I like to call the CMA. It's the numbers. It's, this is what's selling in your area. This is what is sold. And I use a tight geographic pattern to show them that we're really looking to compare apples to apples. And then the bigger one are all the listings. And I actually print them out because I think people like to sit at home and look at hard copies. And I can tell them that this is what the numbers show, but by using Cloud CMA, I can ask them to look at the listings so that they're comparing, apples to apples when they're trying to look at what the interior of their home looks like compared to the neighbor's home, right? Because someone always says, "Oh, my neighbor's sold for $800,000. Mine should go for more." And I said, "Well, let's look inside your neighbor's home. Let's make sure that we're really comparing apples to apples." So I think that has been very helpful, and it's a very hands-on approach. You have this data and these packets that you can deliver that look very professional. And I go back and forth for different meetings, and you can see that they're out on the counter, that they're using them. And then I also, when I do create them, I go through them with a highlighter and pen so that they really see that this is not something I just printed out. It's been very much used by me as as like for a workshop, or
Hmm.
you actually put things down and highlight the things. So they see that I'm not just giving it them to look at. I've worked with it. I've drawn all the things in it that I think need to be brought to your attention. And I think that helps them know that it's really a valuable tool. It's not just a marketing piece.
Diana, what are you using for CMA?
I use NAR, RPR, and I also use Cloud. It's funny, when I have to do a CMA, I usually use a couple of different, Cloud CMA definitely, because Cloud CMA is what both MLSs use. And then I really like NAR, RPR. I think that they have a lot of good
Mhm.
information about the area, but my market's a little different. I still do a lot more business up north. And so it's harder to get more comps. A lot of times they're not apples to apples. It's really apples to bananas. I mean, it's crazy. You've got acreage, you've got styles of homes, you've got just so many different styles or criteria that you're trying to match. So I think a lot of times too, it depends on my client and the person that I'm going to be sitting down with. I find that a lot of times if I'm meeting with someone younger, they don't like a lot of paper. There's a lot of people up north that are very environmentally, they just don't want you to bring up stacks. So I have to do everything on the computer. And then there are those, I totally agree with John, there are those that like to touch and see and to walk away with something. And then I also, depending on the territory, I guess I could say, it's I might have to go a couple times to visit with that client. So just a typical, like tomorrow I'm closing on a, and it's funny, John, you just mentioned that you do a wide range. I do the same thing. I live an hour and a half from Chelmsford, but I basically work between here and there. But my tomorrow I have a closing here in Drake for just a pretty ranch, and next couple weeks I have a 250-acre lot that we're closing on with a beautiful house up on the top of the mountain. So it's just kind of like all over the place depending on who I'm meeting with, and again, it's knowing your clients and getting to know them, because a lot of times that they think they know a lot about their real estate. And so we bring, a consult to them, we bring them information, and it just depends on, you have to realize, you have to respect what they know, but you also have to try to give them the information. And in a climate that we're in right now, I don't know about anyone else, I just know myself, I'm questioning myself every day. I feel like everything I've known for the last 20 years, completely out the window. The market that we just had the last couple of years was nuts, and now we're starting to get back to some normalcy. So it's like revisiting the old things we used to do. A lot more marketing material, things aren't selling in 5 minutes, ramping up my negotiation skills, understanding a purchase and sales agreement so that I can explain it. Not obviously, we're not supposed to be, we're not lawyers, but people, you get questions. So it's pretty much my listing appointment is long. It tends to be a couple of different meetings. And at the same time, it's not just the marketing material, but also going over every step of the transaction, from putting it on the market to getting it under contract to going through the selling process. Can't hear.
Diana, one thing that's interesting actually about both of you guys is I think you both have restaurants listed.
Yeah.
Some agents would kind of shy away from that, saying, I'm just a residential real estate agent, not interested in trying something. Diana, what made you take on a restaurant?
Well, I owned a restaurant, which that was another total, life just threw something at me, and I don't know. But I was going out to dinner one night with a friend, and just a local Chinese restaurant, and the owner came up to me and just asked me, would you be interested in selling my business? The fact that this man asked me to sell his business was like, I couldn't believe it. I was honored. Like, you know me as a customer, you know me as another restaurant owner down the street, you know, I'm a realtor, and he's originally from the Boston area. So for him, and he knows all the realtors in our area because it's one of the only few Chinese restaurants, which is the best one actually. And for him to ask me, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this to the best of my ability and show him that, you know, yeah, I couldn't say no. I just couldn't say no.
That's awesome. Johnny, tell us about you. You just recently listed a restaurant as well.
I did, in very, very similar set of circumstances. I've known the owner for about 30 years. And of course, it's an iconic restaurant here in Yarmouth. And we happened to move into the building next door. So when he walked over, I had the very same feeling you did. And he and his wife sat across from me and said, hey, we're kind of getting tired. We've been putting a lot of hours in and we want to sell it. And we'd like you to do it. And I was honored.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I haven't done it before, but the excitement came over me and the challenge came over me. And I just, without a hesitation, I said, let's do it. And I will work, you know, day and night to put together at least a package that I know is professional and presentable. But I'll be honest with you, a lot of that kind of willingness to go out and do something like that comes from my experience with other lair agents. I have not shied away from seeking the lair agents who, you know, and now excuse me for not remembering the gentleman's name, but did this unbelievable sale on Martha's Vineyard. And I saw his video and I just couldn't believe it. And I called him out of the blue, and he could not have been more helpful. And likewise, an agent in Sandwich. And I have not found one agent in Lair that I couldn't call, and the response was nothing shy of unbelievable, exceptional. Tell us what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Not like, you know, keeping the recipe secret. There was none of that. It was overwhelming information and support. And so knowing that you have that, it does encourage you to take on new things. And there's not this fear of failure. Or, you know, I know there's a lot I have to learn, but I also know there's a lot of people out there that are part of our family here that I can learn from, I can call, and I feel like I have that support and network behind me. So I didn't even think for a second. I just said, let's do it. And it's been fun, whether or not it sells.
Yeah.
But it's a big price tag, but I'm learning a lot about the commercial side of it. So
That's awesome. Can you share with us some of the places, Johnny, that you are getting leads from? You mentioned Veterans United. Any other lead services that are kind of feeding your business?
I just joined Op City, so that's been a little slow. It's at least my opinion, and it could be wrong, but with Veterans United, you seem to get some leads, and they're not fantastic leads. They require a lot of work, but once you start to send them checks and you start to produce, you kind of see a shift in some of the different leads that you get. They're a little more viable. They have a little more attached to them. But I think it's a matter of demonstrating to these different lead generation companies that you can close it.
100%. I tell people, same with Op City. We have agents that are closing deals every single month with Op City. And the general consensus from most real estate agents is Op City stinks, the leads are bad. And I say they're not gonna give you the creme de la creme of leads until they know you can close leads. But same thing, they have an algorithm. All these different services have algorithms in place. And the more you do, because you're probably one of the highest performing Veterans United agents. And just like Op City, we have agents that say, oh no, Veterans United leads stink. They're veteran buyers, which they are, which are more difficult because they're low or no money down. Same thing. If you stick with Op City, eventually those leads start really converting. And we've done some multi-million-dollar sales from Op City. Diana, any other lead services that you're using?
So, yeah, no, I think really, to be honest with you, I've had a lot of inquiries over the last year, but I haven't entertained any just because it's been a good year. And luckily I've had a lot of people just in my own sphere that have been, purchasing or buying or selling. But mostly I'd have to say the Op City, the Y Lopo, and I'm trying to think what else.
Tell us about why Lopo, because from what I know about it is it's not cheap. So it's a subscription that you're paying monthly, and it's a lot of work too. So you only get it out of it what you will put into it. Tell anybody listening how Y Lopo works and why you decided to try it out.
So the reason why I actually had it, the company that I was with before I came back to Lair, I say back to Lair, but I was with a company for a short stint up in New Hampshire, very small company. There was only like 6 of us in the company. And the broker owner had gone into Y Lopo. And I liked it because basically, like I said, they were throwing all these leads at us. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, every day we were getting, and she must have been paying top notch, because Brian and I aren't paying, we're probably at a lower scale, but so we would get a lot of leads, but they were hard. They were really, really hard leads. And so things didn't work out so well for, I shouldn't say they didn't work out so well. I just wanted to come back home. Like I wanted to come back to Chelmsford. So when I came back, I really wanted I wanted my business to be in Y Lopo, because I just thought that this marketing service was pretty cool. I didn't understand all of it, like all it had to offer, because again, it has all these levels. Like you could just get the leads. They've got pay per click. They've got it's just very innovative. They've got retargeting, so that if you retarget all your CRM, it's basically kind of like what AdWorks does. It follows them, you know what I mean? So our ads follow these folks that are somehow connected to us on social media. The algorithms and how it all works out, I couldn't even tell you, but I can't tell you how many people I haven't seen in years will be like, hey, I can't believe how much business you're doing. And I'm like, I had no idea you even followed me. You know what I mean? It's just, that's how it's all out there, and it's crazy how it all works. But so when I came back to Lair, I asked Brian, he and I both kind of were revisiting this whole team thing, and he was impressed with it. So we've actually started at a higher tier. We're back at a lower tier. We were just talking a few minutes ago. I think we're going to revisit it again for next year, just because I think I see things kind of shifting, and I'd like to maintain the level of business that we have, if not exceed or keep going, at an increasing scale. But the service itself is pretty awesome. I think it's top notch, and I think it's also pretty innovative. I don't know all the technical, you know what I mean, how it works behind the scenes, but I just know that they send us leads if you work them, and again, leads are what you make out of them. A lot of times, yeah, they're just people that are starting, but that's the nice thing too. Everything they send you is tagged. So the buyer will have a few tags, like they're a buyer, they're a seller, first time. So they're sort of vetted. They have these questions that they have to kind of answer, and then your contact information. But I'll be honest with you, a lot of buyers are smart, and or a lot of people are smart, and they don't even include all their contact information. So whether it's their phone number is wrong or whether their email is wrong, now I've got a no lead, right? Because if I can't contact them, I don't. So there are those leads. So there are junk leads, but I definitely think it's worthwhile. If you ask Brian now, after being in it, and now a year and a half, maybe going on 2 years, he's the biggest cheerleader. He loves it. He thinks it's a great system. And again, it's just how it's all works out. Like we actually have to pay additionally for our marketing advertising, but it's really, I don't know if you've ever seen our ads on Facebook, but they're nice ads. They anytime we sell, anytime we put something under contract, anytime it's price reduction, it's all out there. And again, it's just a really, I think, I mean, I'm trying to think of other CRMs or other systems that are out there. I've heard of Boomtown. I'm not sure. I know I get calls from them all the time, but I really think that Lopo is high end or top,
Yes.
technology or whatever.
Yes. Johnny, I have a question for you on your daily business, because what's interesting about the real estate business is you see so many agents out there that they seem to be doing all the right things. They attend classes, stuff like they go to the meetings, and then their business really never takes off. And I think some of that has to do with like keeping some sort of daily schedule, that you're doing something every single day, regardless of whether you have a buyer or seller to work with. Can you tell us, like, what does a typical day look like? Do you have a system in place of things that you do every single day?
I do exactly what Zora tells me to do. Yeah, days are different, right? If I have listing appointments or walkthroughs or inspections to do, then I'm out of the office. I'm gone early in the morning, and again, my last sale was in Charlton, Mass. So literally 2 hours from here. So a lot of driving and moving around. But if I know I've got nothing like that to do, for me, it's getting up and getting into the office, because we have a beautiful office here in West Yarmouth, and it changes my whole mindset. I go through that door, and now I want to bang out several things that I can look back and say, well, I really wasn't on a listing presentation. I really wasn't doing a smoke inspection or a final walkthrough, but I was doing work that's going to help me and is going to pay off down the road. And again, all these tools that I still have to get acclimated with. I don't know, if things quiet down a little, I really have it in my business plan to sharpen up all those tools, because it was a very successful past year and a half. But you were just running and running and running. There was almost no time to do anything. And now I'm looking forward to some time to sharpen up some tools, so that, because this is going to happen again. And I want, when the whistle blows, it's too late to sharpen the sword, right? I have to have all that ready, so that when it blows again and we're back in this craziness, which will happen, that I'm more prepared and better able to handle it. And I rely heavily on Zora again. I can't say enough about her, and also good connections locally, good attorneys. And our last closing was a Veterans United closing. It wasn't going to happen. 4 hours before the closing, it wasn't going to happen, because they were $700 shy of what I needed to bring to the table. So what do you do when someone is you're hours away from closing? What do you do? Well, I'll tell you what happened. The lender came up and wrote a check out of his pocket, because I have a good relationship with him. I did the same, and the attorney did the same. So that deal closed. And I suspect that it closed because everybody who's been a part of that team realizes that it'll be paid back tenfold, because I will remain loyal to them. And then it's different when you have a veteran, because I think they deserve everything we can do to get them in a home. So everybody was on board with that. But I suspect if we didn't have such a close relationship, one or two of those people wouldn't have done that, and would have caused someone else to have to do more. So I think I'm
curious, Johnny, where you work with so many veterans, it seems like it was probably at least half your business last year was probably veterans. And I'm curious how you're handling the change in the market, because people are spooked by higher interest rates. Are prices coming down? Is it a bad time to purchase? What are the conversations that you're having to convince people it's still a good time to buy?
One of the things, it's just a bullet point, but I hammer it home to everybody. I say, look, you may be buying your forever home, but you're not buying your forever loan.
Mm.
That's not the case. And if you want to look at data in a small time frame, if you want to look at data that looks like this and it's a rocket scale down and focus on that small period of time, it's easy to get scared. But if you look at data that stretches it out, it's fairly consistent, and you can make a strong argument for look at long-term patterns and not short-term patterns. And long-term patterns, I think, do us well instead of these short-term patterns. But just convincing people that the home that you buy is going to be yours for however long you have it, but hold on to it long enough and your loan will change. And this is a good time to buy. Focus a little more on things that are important, like home inspections and things like that. But again, with my veterans, it's a lot of nurturing, and they don't have a lot of money in many cases. So it's a matter of, setting them up with a good plan on how to save a little more money, and then getting creative with offers. With the veterans, you do a lot of creative writing, a lot of creative things in offers. Listen, if it's the chipping paint on the backside of the house that I think is going to draw attention, you want to paint it? And I have people set up ladders, get out in the back of the house. These are the would-be owners or the will-be owners, and they're scraping and painting the house. And I put things in offers such as, don't be afraid of a veteran buyer, because they are going through a great deal of scrutiny before they got to this point. And there's a lot of people who are going to work to make it happen for them. They have a strong team behind them. So it's a lot of stuff like that.
Diana, what does a typical day look like for you? Do you have a very structured schedule on a daily basis?
So I've got this little 3x5-inch piece of paper that I've got all my to-dos, my dailies and my weeklies, things that I strive to do. But for the last couple of years, it's just been crazy. My number one thing I would have to say in terms of making sure that I get to, by the end of the day, my phone calls and my emails. I feel like if I'm not responsive, people do lose faith, and they lose faith quickly. So that's always been my sticking point, is making sure that I get back to everybody who calls me, even if it's not, urgent. I still want them to know that their phone call is important. But I mean, I used to faithfully, make so many phone calls a day, send out emails, note cards. It's just, my days have gone, what you plan on doing at 9 o'clock, by 8:30, my whole day's already completely shot. Especially with, like Johnny just said, with transactions that are smoothly going along, and then all of a sudden not so smooth. And now we're backtracking and we're trying to figure out, why is this closing not happening in the next week? Well, the lender didn't tell us that the buyer's, rate increase, their salary increase wasn't effective. And so now we're not going to be able to close. I mean, crazy things that if it's not communicated, we don't know, and only till the last minute. And now we're trying to keep fires, out, because everybody's hot tempered and stresses are high. So sometimes I feel like I'm not only playing realtor, I'm playing family counselor, financial advisor. It's crazy. So it's just, I wish I could say I need to get back to that schedule. I need to get back to that, because I think routine is important. I know that in any 9-to-5 job you go to, generally, you have your days already planned out. In this business, we have to be much more self-disciplined. And if we maintain that schedule, I think we're much more successful. So I definitely need to get back into that, so 7 to 8, whether it's putting down my to-do list, and then 8 to 9, making my phone calls, 9 to 10. It's just that routine that I definitely need to get back into.
Okay. And then we do have some questions on here. The program you're using is Lopo. Is it YLOPO?
Yes.
Okay, and why Lopo basically is like a marketing system, and it's marketing, I think, to your sphere using like your CRM, your social media. It's just like marketing to them and their followers. It's like a remarketing.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then they also do like your Facebook, like new listings coming on the market. So that's where they're getting the leads from, but basically marketing to your own people. And it's
Yep.
by Lopo.
It's why Lopo, and then the CRM is Follow Up Boss.
Okay. And then how are you having conversations with clients right now with the change in market?
I'm having a lot of, like just this morning on my way in, I have a client that we've had his house on the market since July. That's like, what? Are you kidding me? And this house is beautiful. This house was in Architectural Digest back in the 1990s. But, you know, it's just a changing market. So I can't, you know, my poor seller is ready to jump off a cliff, and I keep telling him it's going to sell. It's just, you know, we haven't found the right buyer. The market is nothing that I've ever seen. I shouldn't say I've seen this market. It just didn't change so quickly. This was like almost overnight. Prices dropping, competing bids, not anymore. It's been really very discouraging. And I think, but buyers now I think are in a better position. So I think the veterans are now getting a lot more chances to get the properties. I thought for a while, all my FHA buyers were, you know, feeling so defeated, but now we're having those conversations, positive conversations with them, saying, okay, see what we've got now. And even though the rates are going up, I think you have other options. You've got the 7-year ARM, and you've got all that. So understanding, you know, the mortgage aspect of it as well. And again, buyers, I think, I feel myself that I'm having more conversations, and even maybe marrying people. Like I feel I try to go back now and research exactly what my buyers are looking for, or exactly what my sellers need. And I'm trying to meet, I'm one-on-one versus, you know, letting the universe take care of it. So it's a lot of, I know you're looking in this area, but what about this area? And what about another bedroom or one less? And so it's a lot of creative, and sometimes it works. It really works. Just trying to get people to reevaluate or revisit what their needs are. Because I think buyers are now unfortunately getting pushed out of their price range, and sellers are no longer getting what they wanted. So you have to be creative, and you have to be really open to these conversations.
Diana, what's one mistake you've made in your business over, say, the last 20 years that you would tell people, advice that somebody could steer away from a mistake that you've made?
Definitely staying in contact with clients and keeping them in your CRM, and always making sure that they remember you as, you know, their realtor. And I've always said realtor for life. I wanted people to know that, because people buy and sell real estate a lot more often than we think. Hard to believe it's been 20 years, because I mean, now I've been fortunate enough that even those people that I didn't stay in touch with are still calling me. And that's one of the reasons why I came back to Chelmsford, because again, you know, people that have bought 5-10 years ago are now ready to, whether that's upgrade or just down or slow, or I should say, you know, just a different view or whatever, changing their homes. And so I feel that that would be, I think if I had kept in touch with all those folks over the years, and I had kept them in my CRM, I would have been ahead a lot more faster. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I made.
All right, I have one more question for each of you. I'll start with Johnny. What is Oh, I just had my question. I just lost it. Hold on. Oh, big question. On days, and maybe you've only been in it during a very busy time, but I'm super curious. I was talking to an agent the other day and she came to one of our Lair events actually. And she came out to the grand opening in Hampton, New Hampshire, and it was probably an hour and a half drive for her. And I said, what are you doing here? Like, of all the agents, I didn't expect her because it was such a long ride. And she said, the market has me in such a funk. I needed to be around other agents. So I'm curious, Johnny, what do you do to get yourself out of a funk?
I know it's such a fun business, but it's also, there are days when you a month when you rack out 5 or 6 closing and you just say, whoa, I'm on top of the world. And that rug can be pulled out from underneath you so fast. The next day you wake up and say, I gotta scrap everything. Nothing I'm doing is working. So you know what I do? I get into the office. And Diana said something that really resonated with me. She was describing her day. And she said, by 9 o'clock you start, and I'd like to get things done. And then by 8:30, well, if you think about it, that's 11 and a half hour day, not the 9 to 5 day that we said after that. So it becomes pretty clear to me that Diana's having those 11, 12-hour days. And there was a time when I relied upon some a little lackluster effort, and that doesn't happen. Now I like to rely upon past success or reflect on it, but to rely upon it to carry you forward you're only as good as your last interaction. So I kind of think of every interaction as another way to build, and I'm going to use Diana's term, your realtor for life, but it's work. If I don't think things are going good, instead of sitting back and worrying about anything, I just get back to work. I make more calls, and that circles back around, and then you kind of feel like you at least have a half decent plan in effect. Not to get discouraged, I guess, is the key thing.
Diana, what do you do to get out of a funk?
I go to school. I always feel that if I'm stagnant or I feel like I need to learn something. I love, not that I like going to just any CE class, but, or I just like to go on to a Zoom call. I really feel that learning makes me feel like I could do better, or I can apply this to my business. Or I just go out and spend money foolishly, but learning is definitely better.
Well, I want to thank both of you for spending the last hour with us. Tons of little tidbits of information that agents can take with them into their business. And any final thoughts, Johnny, you have?
Nope. Grateful for all that you've given us down here on the Cape and our new office. I suspect pretty soon we'll have a nice grand opening and we can invite people to the Cape.
Yes.
Have a nice time. But thank you, Diana, for all. I was doing more writing than I was talking because you're a
Same here. I learned a lot from you. Thank you.
I appreciate you and all that you do. And I genuinely appreciate the fact that Lair agents that I've called have been nothing short of fantastic, and
that's awesome.
I'll continue to call them, and I'm always here if anybody needs anything, certainly on the Cape in particular. But thank you,
Diana. Any final thoughts from you?
Yes, no, I appreciate you asking me to be part of this, because I was going to call in anyway. I want to know what everybody else is doing. Honestly, like I said, I feel that I'm honored, and it meant a lot. I was humbled that you asked me, but I can say honestly, wholeheartedly, I've been with this company now for a couple of years, but I was really truly Lair before Lair, if you know what I'm saying. So I can definitely say that this was coming home for me, and I love this company. I love everything it represents, and everyone I've talked to that has come back to this company or comes to this company has said that they've never had the support or the just camaraderie that we have. And so Me too. If anyone has any questions, anything, just give me a call, send me a text, email. That's what we're here for.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you
Thank
very much.
you.
All right, thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.